G'day and welcome once again to another episode of The Next Big Thing. I'm thrilled to welcome our guest today, joining us all the way from Rochester, New York. She is a multi-instrumentalist, she is a vocalist, she's a writer, producer, actress, activist as well, and even crowned by the Freetime Entertainment magazine as the Queen of Blues Rock. I'm sure she's the queen of many things. Please welcome Deborah Magone. Deborah, how are you doing?
Oh, that was a beautiful introduction, Sriram. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's awesome. I can't wait to discuss your career. I mean, the list of instruments you play, the kind of work you've done, the genres that you've traversed across, it's just magnificent. I'm not sure if this podcast is going to be enough, but we'll try.
Thank you.
Awesome. So welcome to the next big thing. And as you know, straight off the bat, what we make or get our guests to do on the show is a little bit of an icebreaker, and we get the guests to share two things about themselves, two statements. One of them is steeped in fact, one of them is truth. The other, however, is an outrageous lie, something they've made up. I don't know which one's which. Okay, and so you have to confound me. That's your job. This is a test of your poker skills, if you may.
Oh, okay. All
right. So you good? You want to go? Have a go?
Okay, I think so. All right. I won $2,000 on a game show. And it was because Burt Reynolds and Lonnie Anderson couldn't guess my occupation. And the other statement you want?
Yes.
Right now as well.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
I am incredibly shy, awkward, would rather sit at home with a book and a blanket in front of a fire.
Okay. Wow. That was okay. I'm going to recap that. So statement number one is, on a game show, you won $2,000 because Burt Reynolds and I missed the other name could not guess your occupation.
Correct.
Okay, or they incorrectly guess your occupation. Okay. And second was that you are a very quiet person who loves books. And
I'm shy and awkward.
And you would prefer the company of books, and there were two other things.
Oh, in front of a fire.
In front of a fire. Okay. I don't see a fireplace thing.
Okay. An electric one over there.
Ooh. Okay, you could very well have thrown a curveball, but I'm going to go with first instinct here, is that the first statement is fact. You did win $2,000 on a game show because Burt Reynolds couldn't guess your occupation.
Correct.
That's a fact. That's a fact, yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yes, excellent. Because, I mean, look, given your communication skills, I doubt if the second one was, true. But I've been tricked before, so I just couldn't be. But good, okay. So what game show was this, and when was this?
It was called The Third Degree with Bert Convy back in the 1980s. And I had moved out to Los Angeles from Rochester to try to be the next big thing, because Epic Records had said, you either got to go to LA or you got to go to New York City. So I chose LA because I don't like a lot of concrete. And so I was broke and I wanted to get some money to come home to visit family for summer, just for a few days, week, whatever. So I'm on my exercycle in the living room. I'm thinking, I need money. How am I going to get money? How am I going to get some money? Wow. And so I had my remote control. I turned on the TV and on came, if you have a unique occupation, write the producers at The Third Degree and you could be the next big winner of, $1,000. And I thought, that's the plane ticket. I'm going to do it. So I wrote in. That's how I'm going to get home. And, stuff happens like that with me all the time because I'm open to signs and signals from the universe, So I thought nothing of it. So I quickly wrote that letter.
Yeah.
And told them, because at the time I was the front door bouncer at the Hollywood Palace at Hollywood and Vine in Hollywood.
You were a bouncer?
I was the front door bouncer.
Oh
Yeah.
man, you could have slipped that into your statements, and I wouldn't have guessed.
And
That
I
is,
didn't think about it. I just didn't think about that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good point. But anyway, yeah, they couldn't guess. They couldn't
Yeah,
guess. I mean, I was, very muscular and I had a
yeah,
mini dress on with high heel shoes. I kind of tried to throw them off a little bit
yeah.
and looked very
So what
feminine,
what what is their guess though? I'm very curious. What did they say you do?
At first, Burt Reynolds was like, "Wow, look at those legs. Look at those arms. Are you a masseuse or what does it?" They were going all over the place, and of course,
Yeah.
the audience got to see on the
Oh, the
message
answer.
thing what it was, so they laughed. They were laughing the whole
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
and I brought a student on with me because
yeah.
they asked for two people, and then I did a demonstration afterward.
You chucked somebody out of the set?
I I brought one of my gentleman students and I flipped him and
Wow.
my student turned funny and his foot hit Bert and I'm like, oh sorry Bert, and Bert was the cool stunt guy, no that's okay, it's okay.
Well, it would
But
have made for
anyway,
great TV.
it was on TV. Yeah, I have a
Yeah,
video of it actually. It was
yeah.
very funny.
That's hilarious. Did you get to speak to Burt Reynolds after that?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Because the stunt man in him was very curious because I
Mm,
was doing stunts in movies
yeah.
as well.
Oh, you
So
were? Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Wow, you've done
at that time.
so many things.
Yeah.
So do you still do any of that? Any of the
No,
yeah.
no,
But you
I'm,
must
I'm
still be quite in good physical shape and keeping fit and strong.
thank goodness
Yeah.
because carrying around a Les Paul guitar and jumping around on stage in high heels is not easy at
Not
my age.
easy. I can imagine. I can imagine. And you haven't had the privilege of turning anyone upside down and doing
Uh,
that in the
n
recent past?
Not recently, no. Yeah, my students and I still teach,
Right.
but we haven't been doing any throwing around lately. Yeah.
All right. That's fantastic. All right. So I'm guessing no one heckles you in your live performance. They don't want to mess with you.
Yeah. Yep, yep. And I mean, it's very funny because when I first got married, my
Yeah.
husband was always like, "Well, what would you do if I did this or did that?"
Yeah.
He
Ooh.
he doesn't ask me anymore
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
because I showed him.
You showed him. Show, don't tell.
Exactly.
That's awesome. And since you mentioned your husband, and ignore my sorry, pardon my ignorance, but is he into the music industry as well? What does your husband do?
He is a producer, director, writer currently of
Oh,
Sports Zone for Rochester Institute of Technology here in Rochester. But
wow,
we
wow.
met when we were both working on an Arnold Schwarzenegger film in Los
Oh,
Angeles.
so he produces and
So,
directs films.
well, on that film, when I met him back in LA back in the 80s, he was a
Right,
cameraman. And
right.
so for a lot of big films that he worked on. And so we were both
That's
working in the
so
industry at
cool.
the same time.
So cool.
And it just so happened that we both got a gig working on an
Mm.
Arnold Schwarzenegger movie while
Mhm.
we were first dating in our
Uh,
first few weeks of our
yeah,
relationship. Yeah, it
yeah.
was pretty funny.
So after the first day, this is a terrible joke. I'm just warning you. But after the first day, did your then to be soon to be husband say, "I'll be back, baby"? Or something?
No, I used to say it more often than he
Right.
did.
Right.
I'll
Okay.
be back.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. No, I
Yeah,
spent
yeah.
4 months in LA when I was doing an MBA in Melbourne, and so I got the opportunity to do an exchange with the Marshall School of Business at University of
Oh,
Southern California, and wonderful experience. And I think, if I remember correctly, Arnold was the governor of California at that time, or
oh,
something like that. He was
mm,
contesting.
mm-hmm.
So I remember seeing him on TV a lot, and as a
Uh,
as a as a wannabe governor or governor, I'm not sure, one of the two. But
yeah.
interesting, very very interesting. Okay, so music. When did that first happen to you? When did you fall in love with music, and what was your first instrument you picked up?
Well, first instrument was piano because I wasn't allowed to play guitar. My mom is from Italy. So, but I was born and raised here in Rochester, and uh, every time somebody came to the house, they were from Italy. They were off the boat, so there was always music. There was always a guitar and an accordion. wine and cheese and
Of course.
prosciutto,
Yeah.
pasta
Yeah.
flowing. So music was always in the house. So from a very young age, I loved all kinds of music. Around 8 years old, I had my first pocket radio, and very blessed to be raised in Rochester because we were a path on the Underground Railroad.
Mm.
So we Rochester always had blues, jazz, rock, blues
Wow.
rock, pop,
Yeah.
R&B.
Yeah.
And I got to listen to all that growing up in my little pocket radio. And
Wow.
then I would go into my brother's room and listen to his records. So he helped me influence my tastes as well. And then I decided that I wanted to learn how to play guitar. And my mother said, no, you can learn how to play the piano. And I
Okay.
said, all right, I'll take it. And started on the piano, and then I decided, no, I want to learn how to play guitar. So my brother was allowed. I snuck into his closet whenever anybody went out, when they left the house empty. I went into his closet, I'd steal out his guitar, go into my room, and I'd self-taught myself 3 chords,
Wow.
And then I hounded the woman at the local Parks and Recreation where we hung out after school. Please teach me some more, teach me some more. I drove her crazy.
Wow.
One day I went and put the guitar back in my brother's closet in the wrong way, and it fell over, neck broke off, and it just um I didn't do it. I don't know how that
It
happened.
wasn't
And so
me.
it wasn't me. But but I had to save my own allowance, and then my mother, had to acquiesce because I was going to pay for it by myself. And I brought in my brother's guitar to the
Wow.
local famous great house of guitars, and they were
Mm.
amazing. This 11-year-old girl walks in for a
Yeah.
trade-in to wants my first guitar,
Yeah.
and they were so good to me. They gave me an amazing deal on a Gretsch Sunburst, beautiful acoustic guitar, Dorado.
Yeah.
And I went home, I turned on the TV, and there
Yeah.
was Elvis in a Hawaiian movie with the same guitar.
I,
And I was like, it's a sign.
it's a
It's a
sign.
sign.
The universe is talking to me. Yes, I love it.
Yeah, but I never wanted to be just a singer. I
Mm.
always sang forever and ever
Mm.
since I can remember, but I never
Yeah.
wanted to be just a singer. I
Wow.
wanted to express myself
Yeah.
with that instrument as well,
Yeah.
so
And then
so
you write as well? You songwrite as well?
yes,
Okay.
yes. Been writing since I was a teenager, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. I remember reading that you said when you were a teenager, you illegally performed in bars. That caught my
Yeah.
attention. Do tell us
Yeah,
about
we can talk about that now. Yeah. Yeah. I was I
that.
started I started performing in bars when I was 17. And
Oh.
and yeah, they didn't know that, but and they were biker bars. So it was,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. So I would be, performing my best Janis Joplin Summertime, getting into it, and some biker would walk by and he'd turn over his lower lip and he'd have something tattooed underneath that I can't say on the air here, but and blow my whole mood, blow the
Yeah,
whole song. It was just
yeah,
I'd start busting out laughing. But anyway,
yeah.
it was a culture, yeah. Yeah. And ever since then, but I had a fine group of musicians that I played with that, took me under their wing and, very respectfully, taught me and showed me chords and got me more into the blues. And then I decided that I needed to find a teacher because then I got into my first rock band. I answered an ad in the paper, and they were an incredible band. They played Rush, and I auditioned with a Rush song and a Van Halen song, and they loved it. And so we called ourselves Wired before the magazine,
Mm,
way before the magazine. We should
mm.
have got that DBA on that.
You should have. You should have. Yes.
And we were so studious. We had a band house. I mean, we were playing out for just a couple months, and John Scherer called us to open up for Ozzy Osbourne.
Nice.
And unfortunately, we were not home. The bass player took the call, and he said, I'm sorry, but nobody's home. I'll have to call you back. And the number one rule you learn is you say
Oh,
yes, you work out the details later, right?
later. Oh man.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
came home and we told him bye-bye, and said, kind of broke up the band. We
Yeah.
were never the same after that. So
Yeah.
we had a rep from Epic Records who used to come to town to do stuff at the House of Guitars, and he
Yeah.
told us he loved us, and
Yeah.
they said, "Oh, she's got the potential to be something very big. She
Right.
just needs a hit song, and
Yeah.
she needs to get out of Rochester." And so we
Okay.
all went our separate ways, and that was that.
Wow. Okay. So I mean, do you have permanent bands now, or are you sort of, Deborah and band? How does it work these days?
Well, I am now post-COVID coming back out into the world again.
Yeah.
I have the Deborah Magone band is
Yeah.
reforming
Yeah.
and new writing happening right now, and it's going to be a rock blues band. I'm embracing who I
Yes.
am,
Yes.
allowing my power, but in a more happy way than in the past. I was a very angry youth, and I came on a little strong, and a lot of talent buyers didn't like that. So it was an interesting journey that I've had,
Uh,
because too much of that anger came across.
wow.
My childhood stuff that,
Yeah.
boiling up and had to get out. And of course, I was very globally conscious. I was reading Mother Jones magazine when I was like 11, 12 years old, and I was
Yeah.
very concerned about
Yeah.
the world and things that were happening. So all that together, and in a passionate Italian,
Mm, mm.
so
So I have to ask, and again, pardon my ignorance here, but I think the world likes angry musicians, and when anger expresses itself in so many ways, and I think music is generally accepted, especially in your genre that you were promoting at the time. Why did it get rejected?
you are half correct. When you're a woman, that
uh,
doesn't work out so
I
well.
thought as much. I didn't want to say it,
Yeah.
but okay.
Yeah,
All right.
if you'll notice, you don't
Yeah.
hear female rock voices on commercial radio
Yeah.
anymore.
Mm,
No more Hart, no more, Chrissy Hines, no
yeah.
more, any of those voices. You don't hear
Yeah.
them anymore on a regular basis.
Mm.
If you're a guy, an angry guy out there doing
It's
your stuff,
okay.
it's okay. It's okay. So I am
Ah.
trying not to be, genre specific,
Yes. Yes.
you know,
Was that in
um,
response to that sort of criticism, saying, "Okay, I'm
uh,
going to expand my genres"?
well, I realized I needed just to be happier.
Mm, mm,
I needed to be happier and learn how to say things in, I don't know, a way that more people would accept it and listen, because
mm,
I'm all about empowering and inspiring
mm,
and
mm,
love. I
mm,
know, when we love ourselves, we
mm.
we can reach so many more people,
100%. 100%.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at now. I'm starting to realize that, I had to let go. I had to
Yeah.
let go of a lot of things that happened to me
Yeah.
when I was younger,
Yeah.
and embrace that, yes, I'm a strong female and I could kick some butt on guitar and vocally and on
Literally.
stage, right? And so
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm enjoying that now, where every time I perform, it's, where are you playing next? Oh my God, you rock, you this, you that, blah, blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's time. It's like I finally have come out of that
Yeah.
past, and I'm
Yeah.
starting to move forward in a very positive way, because I
Nice.
want to reach people, I
Absolutely.
want
Absolutely.
to, with
Absolutely.
that message.
No,
So
I can see that, and I love what
mm,
you bring to the table. So
thank you.
it's really incredible, and been on that journey myself, connecting music to happiness, and going on a massively spiritual journey, to be very honest, of
Yes.
self-discovery, and realizing that happiness is not out of reach. It's a choice. It's always accessible to me. I just have to
Yeah.
choose it,
Yeah,
and
and it has to come from in here first,
oh,
inside of us first.
yeah, so we look for it
So
outward, but it's actually
exactly.
very much us. So I've had that journey, that experience myself, and of course, over 23 years in the music industry, there've been a number of brickbats and rejections and all of that stuff for various
Hmm.
reasons. But I've had to go back to the drawing board, actually, and saying, okay, I'm trying to do music to achieve X, to achieve Y, to achieve Z, so that I can get happiness. How about I just cut out X, Y, Z and just say, music, gives me happiness. Singing in the shower gives
Yeah.
me happiness. Performing on stage
Mhm.
gives me happiness. It doesn't matter. And right now,
Yeah.
talking to you about music gives me happiness. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So I went
Yes.
through that journey.
Yes.
And-
Yeah. And that's what I'm asking myself post COVID, is
yeah.
this what I want to do? Well, of
Mm,
course, it's all I know. It's all I've ever done.
mm,
This is what I want to do.
mm,
So
mm,
I'm figuring out the formulas,
mm,
like you see a lot of
mm,
women that have all of a sudden donned the short dresses. I changed my clothes long ago because I
mm,
know that sex sells, period.
mm, mm,
That's just the way it is. Okay.
mm,
Now,
mm,
if I can combine in
mm.
my presentation with music of substance,
Yeah, yeah,
that's where I want to be. So
yeah,
I can write a song about a topic,
yeah.
but it's the way I bring it
Yes,
across.
100%.
Instead of guttural screaming, it's going to be Monday in America. Every
Mm,
Monday in America, we hear about more children, getting
mm,
shot or people, guns, violence, and this and that. Every Monday in America,
mm,
there's a news break about another mass shooting. I can write a song about that and get that message out, but put it in a way
mm.
that people will listen and
Yeah,
want to listen,
yeah,
because
yeah.
it's an awful
It is.
tragic
It is.
subject,
It is. It is.
you know?
It is
So,
very, very troubling,
yeah.
100%. And we sitting here in Australia, my wife and I talk about it quite often, actually. And yeah, it is really unfortunate. And yeah, I'd like to see it stop. So I think
Yes.
we all do. But yeah, and it's worth communicating. These issues they're
Mhm.
worth communicating through music, but it
Yeah.
can
Look
come
at
from
you
two places.
too. You too
Yes, yes.
is one of my favorite
Oh,
examples,
U2 is great. U2 is great
right?
about yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah,
and all they have music of substance. They always touch on issues,
yeah.
but they do it in a way that is pleasing to the ears,
Yes, yes, yes.
Mm.
And it's genuine. Like when they perform, you know
Yes.
that they actually do care about it. It's not a formulaic, hey, what shall we write about that can sell?
Yes.
When you do it right, it'll sell. Uh,
Exactly.
so yeah, no, I'm a
Exactly.
big fan of that authenticity in
Yes.
music. So
Yes.
I like that. I connect with it. I also consider myself to be an authentic musician because when I perform, my emotion lands. I connect with the people listening, and I think that's been the reason I've done what I've done. Because of my ability to connect. So it's a great gift, Deborah, and
Well,
more
I'm
power
looking
to you.
forward to hearing yours. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. I was just going to say I'm looking forward to hearing your submission because of the topic that you wrote about.
Yeah.
Seriously.
No, I consider I'm very emotion led, but over the years I've learned to use it wisely and to my advantage rather than sort of always emotion first.
Yeah.
But in cases like this in art, when I create something, I pour emotion into it. And
Hmm.
as an only child, I know my mother and I are very close, but we don't talk about feelings as much.
Sure. Sure.
And certainly not when I left. It took my dad to say, she's struggling a bit. I'll tell you. So I was
Mm.
like, oh, what do I do here?
Hmm.
So I was
Well,
just working on.
make sure you call her often.
Yeah, yeah, we speak often. Yeah, we do.
That's beautiful.
We speak
Yeah.
often. And so I wrote this song, and then I realized while I was writing it, going, hang on, it's not just me and her. It's happening in most households, maybe not all, but most
Yeah.
households. And
Yes.
it's a fairly universal theme, which is when
Yes.
it grew into something else more than just me and her. Uh,
Oh, I cried. I cried
mm,
when my son
mm,
moved away.
mm, mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm,
And not just once.
mm.
So, yeah.
I hear you. I hear you. So yeah, I
Yeah.
look forward. I look forward to hearing the song and
Mhm.
yeah, check out the video as well. So we've got somebody. We didn't have budget for color, so we got an animation to do black and white animation of it.
Oh,
But the important
wonderful.
thing was we just wanted the story to be told. I had a story in mind, and
Yes.
so yeah, no, look forward to that. And yeah, that brings me to a key moment in my life, as I shared with you, is that earlier this year in June, in the class of 2023, the Recording Academy was happy to have me, which is a privilege, and I was very excited. And at that time, I must say, my wife and I, we were talking about it, and she said, "Yeah, it's." She said something very sweet. She said, "It's good to see you winning." and I, so it was really, I mean, because lots of wins and losses, they come in pairs. But
Mm.
so
Mhm.
and then she said, "What are you going to submit?" I'm like, "Oh, oops, I didn't think of that." And then there was half a mind to say, "You know what? I'll submit an album next year. Let this one go." And then I thought, I will never be a first-time Grammy voting member again. Right?
Really?
This is the first year. Next year it'll be my
Oh, I
second
see
year.
what you mean. I see what you mean.
You know what? You know
Sorry.
what? You know? Yeah. Yes. No. No.
Yes, I get
So
it.
it's only this year that I get to say I'm just newly, accepted. So I've got to put something.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then I,
yeah.
yeah. So I looked at my album. I didn't like all the songs in it, I must be honest. And then I loved this one, and I said I'm going to go under performance, global performance, one track, and this one.
Beautiful.
Anyway.
Well, the biggest thrill for me was to see my name on a ballot next to, other rock stars and
Yeah.
people that I've looked up to, all
Yeah.
my musical life. So
Yeah.
that was a big thrill, even I
Yeah.
didn't care if I didn't win a thing. It's like, wow, this is nice. Yeah.
No, it's great. It's great. And you all have made me, and I'm sure the others, feel very welcome. There's a nice
Mm.
granny family vibe going on. And
Yes. Nice community.
yes, no, and thanks to people like you who come speak to me. Otherwise, it's very lonely. It's me and the wonderful Maridas, who's there
Ah,
in New Age, and with his
yeah.
beautiful album. And it's just us. We caught up and we're like, who else is there in Melbourne? Yeah, not many.
Ah.
So that
Yeah,
was that.
no, yeah, there was, I mean, there over the years have been like wonderful projects that, when you get into the community, people ask you to participate in their projects and vice versa. So it's a lot of fun. And I made an intention that I wanted to reach up and out to musicians that were better than me, that I
Mm,
thought were better than me, that I wanted to
mm,
learn and I wanted to
mm,
be in the company of positive
mm,
musicians who are doing global things with their music, good
mm,
global things with their music.
mm,
And so I've had, wonderful opportunities,
mm,
working on that One Little Finger project and
mm,
a few others. But yeah, just it's been wonderful. Good people,
mm.
good,
What a
awesome musicians.
what a fantastic attitude. And seriously,
Mhm.
this is a big learning for me, is to reach out and work with musicians who you deem are more skilled in certain areas so that you can learn. Because typically musicians don't do that. Insecurity is a part of music, and they actually go the other way, saying, let me just feel
Hmm.
good about myself. And I've been guilty of that myself, to be very honest.
In
And
the
but
past, me too.
yeah, yeah. So fantastic tip there, I think, to reach out, to grow, to learn. Uh,
Yeah.
and that's fantastic. And in that journey, you worked with some humongous, people yourself, Peter
Oh my
Frampton,
God,
and
Quincy
Butterfly.
Jones,
Yeah.
Julian
Ooh.
Lennon was on the One Little Finger project. It was just seeing my name in the credits next to
Yeah.
Quincy Jones and Julian Lennon.
Ooh.
It was like, oh, come on, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
And nobody knows who I am, but I don't care. It's like
Mm.
just being a part of
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
project that did so many, it just opened a lot of people's eyes about so many different things. So yeah, and then working with Mike Greenlee,
Yeah.
Billboard charting lyricist, just the music and the lyrics, because I chose
Yeah.
particular things. I didn't just, do any project that came along. I looked
Yeah.
at it and what were their intentions? What are they trying to say?
Yeah.
And very humanitarian,
Mm.
positive, inspiring, empowering things. And
Mm.
that's what
Mm.
I'm so grateful to be a part of.
Wow. Fantastic. What is Quincy like in the studio? What is
Oh my God. Well, I wasn't in the studio with him,
right?
but I met him at the rap party,
Right. Right.
because there
Right.
was a film that went along with this.
Yeah.
And what a wonderful human being. I mean, he was in his 80s. This was just a few years ago, but here he was. He came out and he sat there while everybody lined up waiting to meet him and talk to him. And he sat there with such grace and patience. And
Yeah.
when I sat down and he grabbed my hand and he's like, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "Rochester, New York." Ah, Chuck Mangione
Oh,
and Steve Gadd. And
uh,
I said, and Deborah Magone, and he
Deborah
laughed,
Magone. Yeah, no relation to Manjon. There's no N there. It's Magone.
Yeah, but he went on to say he and his wife had a lot of friends in Rochester, and just very graceful and patient and nice human being, and just a creative genius, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My
Yeah.
God. And we've benefited, people across the world, India, Australia, we've all benefited from the genius of Quincy Jones.
Yeah.
Fantastic. No,
Yeah.
that's great. Now I talked about Australia and I remembered reading that your music's been played on radios across the world,
Yes, and in
inclu-
Australia too. Yeah.
including Australia. So my
Mhm.
question is, we've heard you on radio here. Have you performed here in Australia?
No, I want
Oh,
to. I want to.
we need to fix that.
Yes, yes, absolutely. When my rock blues band is ready, I'm
Yeah,
going to contact you, number one.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, I'll be going global. That's my plan.
yeah,
That's my
yeah.
plan.
I'll come
Yeah.
watch and whatever help I can do from
Thank
here.
you.
Absolutely, it'll be a treat to watch you in Melbourne.
Oh,
And
it would.
Melbourne's big on music.
Uh, yeah. When Carnes Radio reached out, I'm trying to remember her name now. Oh my God, I hope she doesn't hear this because I can't remember. But it's been a while.
Yeah, yeah.
She hooked up with me almost 15 years ago.
Mm, mm,
But anyway, Cairns, CAIRNS radio station, I
mm.
think. But
Yeah,
anyway, yeah, it's on my bucket list. I
yeah,
want to be there. I want to get there. I want to go to Europe and play. I want to play in England.
yeah,
Got friends and fans there. I've been on the radio there as well.
yeah,
I
yeah.
want to go to Italy. I want to go to my mother's
Of
hometown,
course.
and play.
Which is where?
It's in the mountains of Abruzzi. It's called Celano. It's a small town, and I have sang there. I have
Wow.
sung there.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, it's a beautiful place. Just
Wow.
beautiful.
And talking of Italy, and I understand that the family migrated during World War II, so would have been a
Mhm.
difficult time for the family migrating.
Yes.
And how did that,
Yes.
if any, how did that impact your music? That
It has. I mean, when I think about, well, I'll give you just one example to keep it
Please.
on a lighter note.
Sure, sure.
They made me learn a song when I was a young kid, and I went there. Celano, Celano, che bella città, si mangia, si beve, l'amore si fa.
Ah,
Celano, what a beautiful city. You eat, you drink, and you make love. Okay.
I love
So, right?
it.
So
Yeah.
one night I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I gotta write like an American version, of that song. So that's where my song "Cookin'" came
Wow,
from.
wow.
If I don't know if you heard it or not, but
Right.
it's a 1-4-5 blues shuffle kind of thing.
Ah.
But the lyrics are very tongue in cheek and very fun. Come into my kitchen, it's a place to be. I'm cooking up some love. I got a great recipe, and we'll be
Woo!
cooking. It's a fun song.
That just sounds cool, in that. Now, I haven't checked it out. I will certainly hear it.
Yeah.
Oh, that was wonderful. No, I loved it. Inspired by Celano, huh?
Inspired by Celano, yeah.
Very nice, very nice, very nice. Now, so you, if I understand correctly, you play a whole heap of instruments, right? There's slide guitar, there's acoustic, there's dobro, cigar box,
Mm,
electric guitars. Um,
yeah.
any I missed? I don't know if you still perform on the piano or
Well, I used to play a little flute, and
yeah,
whenever I need to, I play piano. Like I'm doing a Bonnie Raitt tribute band as
right,
well,
nice.
and I will be playing some of her piano stuff in that band. But I haven't
Fantastic.
had cause to use it
Okay.
otherwise right
Okay.
now. But
So they
yeah.
say, I shouldn't make someone choose from their children, but I will. So out of all these instruments, what is your go-to? What is your favorite instrument to pick up if you were allowed to pick up one?
Well, I do have to say right now, it's
Yeah.
the electric. It's my electric Les
Ooh,
Paul standard. Yeah.
nice.
Well, it's actually a custom job because I
Mm,
added a whammy bar and,
mm.
and I put gold hardware on it, and it's a beater. It's a beat up guitar that I got used at a local shop. And I
Yeah.
thought, I'm just going to I'm going to customize it. So
Yeah.
when
Make it
people see
mine.
my,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, with the whammy bar, I think Alex Lifeson from Rush has one that they
Uh,
made with a whammy. I'm not sure, but anyway, yeah, it's my fun guitar
that
right
is so
now.
cool. How many guitars do you own?
That's a tough question because
Yeah.
there's some upstairs, there's some downstairs, and there's a bunch here. So it's got to be somewhere around 20. It's
Oh, nice.
somewhere, yeah. I mean, but I still don't have the one that I want, which was the very first one I ever owned. Electric guitar that I ever owned was a Les Paul SG Sunburst. And I sold it for my first Les Paul standard. And now I wish I had an SG. Now they're like, a couple grand, but I'll get there. I want a white SG, Santa, if you're out there listening. Um,
Deborah is waiting for you. Well,
That's on my wish list right now. Yeah.
hopefully next time we do a podcast, you can put it in the back and, and
Yeah.
all right. So, okay, all these performances, all this rich musical career, so many instruments, airplay across various countries, performances across various countries, that you also find the time to teach. And I believe and give back to the community, which is fantastic. So you teach, I think, art, karate, music, and meditation. Is that correct?
Everything except for the fine art right now. I don't
Yeah.
do that right
Yeah.
now, but yes, everything else I still do. Yeah.
That's a fantastic mix. And if I dare say, and I don't think that's the right way to position it, but karate is obviously comes from a place of peace. I get that. But it is also associated with action. And meditation is the opposite of that. It's and it's something I practice. I'm a practitioner myself. So how do you do both?
Well, here's if I can go into a little story about how it all began.
Mm,
I come from a broken home, so my childhood, had a lot of anxiety
wow.
and stress. And so I, at 11, was smoking and drinking and getting high
Mm,
and hanging out with some, pretty shady people.
mm,
And I went to my first Humble Pie concert when I was 11, smoked my first joint there, 11 years old. But I would get out and go out in the evening, and I had a curfew, but I never came in at the time I was supposed to. And my father would have to come out looking for me every night except Thursday night. Thursday night, I came home early. I sat down in front of the television in a dark room, totally high, and I had to be home to watch Kung Fu, or Gung Fu, as they would say,
oh,
on TV with David Carradine
mm,
and the character Kwai Chang Caine. That it was one of the first TV shows of its kind, as far as I know,
mm,
and it injected segments of Buddhism
mm.
in between the action scenes.
Oh, that is so
Okay.
cool. That is so cool.
And his philosophy, his whole philosophy and his practice, he only used it in self-defense,
Mm,
and
mm,
so I used to sit there and watch what control this
mm,
character has over his life. And
mm.
that's something that I wanted. I
Ooh,
wanted that
I love it.
control over
Love it.
my life that was out of control, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so my father, I didn't know this. He was standing behind me in the doorway, wondering, what the heck is she doing? And so he saw what I was seeing. He went out and looked for a karate school or martial arts school.
Yeah.
And there was only two in the city. There were only two in the city at the time. Thank God he picked the better one. And and we started taking classes. And he, myself, and my sister. It
Oh,
was too
he
much.
also came. That's very interesting. Yeah.
And that was my dad. Whenever
Yeah.
he would try to get us to do family stuff together.
Yeah.
And so they both quit. There were 3-hour intensive classes. I mean,
Oh,
and there was no gender scene in the class. You did knuckle push-ups just like the guy next to you.
love it.
And you
Love it.
know,
Yeah.
and the sparring and everything else. And after 3 hours, my gi was drenched, my karate uniform was drenched, and At 11 years old, I was finally sleeping through the night. Prior to that, I would toss and turn. My mind was constantly worrying and, the stress and anxiety of the
Wow.
stuff that was happening in the home. And after I started taking those classes, I slept through the entire night and I started finding this peace. And
Yeah.
here was this way for me to work out my aggressions in a
Yeah.
positive way without
Yeah.
hurting anybody as much as
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
In class, people got hurt every once in a while, but,
Yeah.
we learned levels of pain that, okay, you don't go full force on somebody, just because they called you a name. If they tried to throw a punch, you block it and stop. If
Mm.
they kept going, then you stop them. You know what I mean? So equal force along the way kind of thing. But it was the same with the spirituality of it.
Mm. Mm.
The
So
true
cool.
black belt doesn't need to fight.
Mm.
They find other solutions
Yeah.
to a problem, you
Yeah.
know? So, yeah.
That is
It-
so fascinating. I love all of this. So I found a lot of so my spiritual leanings actually ended up changing. I mean, it's dramatic to say it changed my life. To be very honest, it actually saved my life. So
yes.
yeah, so I'm very grateful to the effect of these learnings, wisdom, and in any shape. I mean, karate is an expression of body. Meditation is of the mind, and I find
Mhm.
that body and mind are intertwined. They're so interconnected.
Absolutely. And when I started having my own school, I
Yeah.
started teaching meditation along with the training
Mm.
because I'm of the same philosophy. Body and mind are totally connected.
Mm.
And that's how I overcame severe ulcerative colitis, by putting those things together.
Mm.
But I stressed, to my students, body, mind, and spirit. I was,
Yeah.
one of the first martial arts teachers in Los
Yeah.
Angeles with the body, mind, spirit on my
Nice.
flyers.
Nice.
And in self-defense only. This is the only time you use this. But
Yeah.
it got out so many stresses doing the physical workout,
Yeah.
and then using the meditation to take it a step further,
Ah.
and then learning to use your intuition. Don't be afraid, be aware, be
Yeah.
alert.
Yeah.
It's all connected, and it's just such. I wish it was in all the high schools.
Hundred
I
percent.
wish. Oh my gosh,
100%. I was forced to study 5 subjects, out of which I only connected with English. And yeah, I wish, because I mean, look, I spent all of school thinking I wasn't intelligent enough. I wasn't good enough. I felt rejected by what the world valued. And then, of course,
Hmm.
it came to me that, hang on, I bring so much to this world, and
Yes,
I am very intelligent. So,
yes, yes,
so
and we all are,
yes, yes,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, that and literally, like you said, it saved my life. At
Mm,
16,
mm,
I was sitting in this bar,
mm,
and I was looking around at these people, lifers, leaning on the bar like this, and I thought, that's not what I want for me. That's not
yeah.
what I want for me. And so my practices were
Mm,
helping me to quit everything. I stopped smoking. I stopped drinking. I
mm,
stopped going out to these places. And
mm,
this one particular place that I used to go to,
mm,
I was illegal. I wasn't supposed to even be in there. But they wanted your money. They didn't care. And 2 weeks after I made the decision, my intuition just told me, this is it, done, enough is enough. I walked out, I never looked back. 2 weeks later, 3 men with guns walked in and shot the whole place up. A couple of people were killed. My own friends, had to dive under the game tables to save their own lives. It was totally an intuitive thing on my part. And I just thank the universe for
100%. I was going
all
to
the
say,
guidance along the way.
mm, fantastic. Wow, what powerful stories. And did you say your husband's in the film industry? Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
I
yes.
reckon, I reckon, with your story, there is the next sequel to the Karate Kid.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to tell you, while I was in Los Angeles, there was a couple of well-known people. I taught their son martial arts, and they actually were interested in doing a film, and it just didn't work out for whatever reasons,
I think because when you were
Yeah.
talking, the visual imagery was, whew.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Hopefully it happens. Hopefully someone picks it. It's a story worth sharing. Like it really got me in.
Thank you. Thank you. The really truly important story that I'm trying to start writing a book about. I need to get more disciplined in my writing sessions, but curing myself of severe ulcerative colitis using the body-mind connection.
Big thing.
So that's hugely important. There's so many people with digestive diseases out there right now that just don't understand it's stress that
Yeah.
causes these
You're
diseases.
you're possibly speaking to one right now, maybe.
Okay, well, we can talk later if you
We'll
want
talk.
to.
We'll
Yeah.
talk.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Look, I would love to keep talking to you, and I will. But from a podcast perspective, I think we have time for maybe one last question. The question that
Mhm.
defines and underpins the podcast is the podcasts are called the next big thing. So the idea is to inspire listeners to be the next big thing. So according to you, according to Deborah Magone, did I say it right?
Perfect. You're
What?
Italian by proxy.
Ooh. So according to you, what is the one must-have or the one non-negotiable for someone to become the next big thing in their chosen field?
In my mind, it has to be love. Love of self, love of what you're doing. It
Mm,
has to be.
mm,
Without it,
mm.
you will not make the connection that you need to
Yeah,
have
yeah. Thank you. Thank you
to.
for mentioning that because
Yeah.
we haven't talked about that word. Well, we have, but not exactly. And I
Mhm.
saw it on your profiles. And you're not going to believe this. I'm not saying this just because you said this, okay? I am big on self-love. In fact, for about 3 decades, I've struggled with self-love. I've struggled with the relationship I've had with myself. And then finally, when I made a complete U-turn, thanks to spiritual masters and mentors who made me realize that I am complete as I am. So I went from I'm miserable to I am complete. Uh,
Beautiful.
and so I speak about peak performance, and I have 7 pillars of peak performance. And yesterday, I delivered my 7th module, which is on self-love. And so
Beautiful.
it was all completely about acceptance, appreciation, nurture, transformation. So I'm big on having a great relationship with yourself. Only when you give love to yourself can you give it to the world. So yeah.
Right?
So,
Right? See, there are no accidents that we're talking together
yes,
tonight.
very, very true. Very
You
true.
said you gave the
Very true.
speech, and there are no accidents.
No,
Yeah.
no, no.
Yeah.
So it is
Because I'm
phenomenal
big on
because
that. Yeah.
so am I. So hopefully, I think that's what's brought us together, and I'd love for us to explore where this takes us, our common interests, music, love, universe, spirituality. So I
Beautiful.
look forward to many more discussions, and thank you for
Excellent.
sharing your time and your infinite wisdom and enthusiasm for music and life. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sriram, for having me. It's been a pleasure. So wonderful to meet you in person as well.
We'll do that. Yes, thank you. Thank you.